Welcome back to my channel, guys, and what I am going to do today is test the Litchi application for Phantom. Now I'm going to be testing it on my Phantom 4, but it is available for the other Phantoms, and I know there are many videos out there on YouTube covering the Litchi application. Well, this is mine. The Litchi application has been around for quite a while, and it has proven itself and proven to be very stable and has become a firm favorite with a lot of people. Now, I do not really know this application very well, so please bear with me. I'm learning this application as I'm showing you how it works. Now, the layout is pretty simple. It does make quite a bit of sense and it's fairly intuitive. And we can see that we have various settings. If you click on the settings, we have obviously your units, your battery voltage that you want to show. I want to show that, show home orientation, that's good. I like the fact that you can show the GPS coordinates, so I'm going to switch that on. I like the hybrid map, leave that on. Map auto zoom, let's leave that on for now. Map safe area radius. And as we can see, there's a couple of other options. Camera, auto record. I like auto record because it has happened once or twice that I have taken off and forgotten to click record. So I'm going to switch that on. Now the video format, so you can select MOV or MP4. I'm going to leave it on MP4 for now. Anti-flicker is fine. Show camera controls, show histogram. Yeah, if you really are going to be doing it in manual, for my purposes in this case, I'm just going to leave it as is. You can also enable different types of grid lines with diagonals or just the grid lines. Now, your preview quality, you can actually reduce. I'm going to reduce it actually to 4 megabits because that's good enough for me. Transmission channels you can actually change and select there. You can actually select a specific channel. I'll leave that on auto for now. Right, go home altitude. I've set mine to 50 meters because I like mine fairly high. Maximum altitude in South Africa, we're allowed to fly at up to 120 meters. And dynamic high, home point, actually I've got no idea what that is. I'll look that up later. You guys are welcome to as well. Now, obviously, there's the important one. Signal lost behavior for manual flying. Return to home is what I want. I want it to come back. I don't want it to hover. I don't want it to land. Let's say, for instance, you're over water and it lands. That's a problem. Hover, you may not regain your signal. Your transmitter may go faulty or whatever. So, in my case, return to home makes sense. Forward collision avoidance, I've got switched on. And the vision positioning system I have switched on. Flight logs are on. And you can actually connect this to the Healthy Drones site as well if you want to store your settings there, your logs. Auto takeoff, follow mode, etc. I'm going to leave the rest as is. Gimbal FPV mode, leave that. Gimbal extension. And the gesture control and everything else, I'm leaving it as is. I'm going to enable speech. Every 20 seconds I have a feedback. And altitude feedback, not necessary for me, distance, etc. I'm not interested in that, but other people may be. Warning frequency is like 60 seconds, so yeah, all the others I'm happy with. The keys I'm not going to fiddle with. So there you go. Those are the basics. Now the things I'm really interested in is here at the top left where it says FPV. Now FPV is your default. Then you've got waypoint control, which opens your map so that you can actually set up different waypoints and fly in waypoint mode. Follow, obviously, when you select that, it's the height that you're going to select and the distance from you. That's going to follow the GPS coordinates returned by your tablet or device that you have on your transmitter. Now, bear in mind, you are going to need a device that, one, can pick up a GPS signal, and two, has a way of collecting the map data. In my case, I'm using a NVIDIA Shield, which does not have a SIM card. But for data transmission, I've used my my cell phone, and I've enabled a Wi-Fi hotspot on the cell phone. So yeah, that is not a problem for me. And other options there is now orbit. Now, orbit is going to rotate around the point from the little bit I've been able to read. We'll experiment with that just now. Focus is it's going to keep focus on the point where you select, and no matter where you fly, it's going to orient the camera to that. Panorama is more for photographic use, and I'm not going to use that right now. And tracking is the object tracking as you have on the Phantom 4, but this now enables things like the Phantom 3, etc. to also have that object tracking. Right, so the rest I'm going to leave as is. Let's just take it up in FPV mode and see how it flies. Now I've got my Phantom 4 way out there. Since there's no one else here, I am a little closer. I'm actually at the launch point of the taxiway, but it's safe. There's no one else here, and I'm quite confident I'm not going to cause any problems. If there were other people here, I'd take it all the way out to the helipad, but in this case, that's fine. Let's just take it up. It arms as normal, and there you go.
Started.
Now, immediately it says recording started. Now, that's cool. So even if you forget to start your recordings are automatically going to start. Now, I'm going to switch over to the little screen here. And, okay, it has dropped a little height, actually. Let me just pull it up a little bit further. Okay, let's get it to hover there. Now, the first thing I want to test is the follow mode. Now, I'm actually going to go out there and let's see how it works. Let's just bring the camera along. Right, now it's making a bit of a noise, obviously, but I'm sure you can hear me. Now I'm going to get in front of the camera here. Follow switched on. Now I am using my cell phone to transmit image data for the area so that it has a data connection, and then that is the GPS location is being picked up by the tablet, and the altitude has been set to 8 meters and the distance at 6 meters, and you click follow. So we're waiting for a GPS lock.
Recording started.
Right, now it comes up with this warning that says remember to use your remote controller mode switch if you wish to regain control during the autonomous flight. Now, okay, we click OK. It's initializing, obviously getting our GPS location, and now it's going to raise to 8 meters, and there we go. Now what it's doing now is it is tracking my location. Now if I walk down in this direction, it is going to track me. Now one should bear in mind, it is following the GPS location of the tablet, which the tablet is picking up. So if your tablet doesn't have an accurate GPS point, it may not be accurate. All right, so I'm going to stop, and I'm going to walk back. Now as I walk back, you'll see the Phantom's going to follow me. Pretty scary actually. Autonomous technology, interesting, but just that little bit scary as well. But Once you understand how the technology works, it's actually pretty simple. Anyway, that is the follow mode. So you set up those settings and it will follow you there. Right, I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to turn it back to me and let's just put it there. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to land it quick. Let's just point the camera up towards me. We do have a bit of a wind, as you can see.
Recording stopped.
And that is a nice little function. Recording automatically stops again. Now the next thing I want to do is test the waypoint function. Now we do have a bit of a wind. Now fortunately the Phantom 4 can fight quite well against the wind. Now for a waypoint, we click on the waypoint function. It comes up. It's going to show you a bit of your map. Now in my case, my map has not completely loaded, but I can see approximately where I am. We've got very low resolution maps in our area, so we have to just be happy with that. Now there's two waypoint types. You click on that. When it's blue, that is your focus point. Now I am actually going to set up a blue marker there. That is the point at which I want the camera to point when selected for that point. I click on the waypoint type again. From where it is at home, I'm just going to move slightly to the side, and there we go, waypoint 1. I want that altitude to raise to 30 meters, but actually let me take that a little higher to about, let's say 50 meters, that's fine, 50 meters. And yeah, when you go down, your gimbal pitch is where you want to focus on your point of interest. And you can actually offset the degrees of your point of interest. And we can close that, and now we can go on to our next point. To move it out to this side, and it remembers the last height that you were at. Now I see the gimbal pitch is still disabled. I don't know if you need to select it each time, but I'm going to select it. I'm going to move it out to there, and let's just follow a little route along here and then bring it back. All right, now let me just see here. Now point 3 says focus point of interest, and yeah, it seems right. That one's disabled. Disable. And the previous one. Now, when you click on the settings, the heading mode is where you're going to drop down and select waypoint defined, because now when you close and you open this up again for a wide view, you can see the camera angle now changes to the point of interest that you set. So that you set on those settings. We want curved turns, finished action. I wanted to just go to home, which is point 1, as I understand. Or you can also reverse. The cruising speed you can set, max flight speed, etc. There's a lot of things that you can adjust. Gimbal pitch mode, we can actually set there also as well. And let's give that a shot. So what I'm going to do now is click on play, and estimated mission time is 53 seconds, and I click go. Now remember, our first point was set at 50 meters, and it's going to
Recording
so
started.
stop, automatically start the recording, and there it goes. Now, because I set the camera at our waypoint, or our point of interest, so it has to first go to target point 1, and then it will adjust the gimbal. And there we go. Now it's adjusted the gimbal and it's starting to fly around these points. So yeah, there we go. We can wave at it. You can see there it is. It's going to follow those at a height of 50 meters or 51 meters, approximately what we adjusted it. And when it gets back, it's just going to stop again. So yes, it has quite a bit of nice uses, obviously, for those doing those waypoint missions and who want to do this kind of thing. That is pretty awesome. So yeah, there it's done, and it's coming back to the home location for a landing. I'm just going to do this, bring it in for a manual landing. Oh, wind is pretty terrible. Next point is orbit. Now, orbit's a little different, so I'm going to go way out there and see how orbit works. But obviously, I'm first going to take it off, and I'll explain from there.
Recording started.
Right. So, orbiting is basically, it takes the point where you are, and it's going to orbit around that. To enable your orbit, you select orbit from your menu, then you select your actual camera, and you click that a second time on the camera, and it comes up with your altitude, your radius. Now the radius, let's keep it at 5 meters, or let's increase that slightly more. So that's the point at which it's going to start orbiting, and the entry point north. Now I know north for my entry points around there, and I've set the distance to about 10 meters, so it's maybe a little too much. Let's reduce that to around a little more, to about 8 meters, and the speed at which it goes. And along the circle is the heading mode, and it's going to point in, and then you click start. Now I'm actually going to move under where this one was, the camera was, which is here. So what it does now is I'm in the center, if you can see me here, but the problem is it has been set to actually follow the circle, which I don't want. So we click the camera, we stop, click the camera, and the heading mode we change to center, which is me, yeah, where it originally started. And you can click start, and now you'll see it'll turn in. It's going to go back to the north point towards me, and it's slowly going to start panning around me. Now that pan speed, let's stop that quickly, and let's increase that quite a bit more, and we start it again. Now let's see how that changes. Now you can see it's quite a bit faster, and it comes around nicely and smoothly, keeping me in the center. I've got it set to 6 degrees per second. So yeah, that's quite a nice pan. Look at that footage. I like that. That's pretty awesome. I like that. Right, so that is how the orbit works, and it's going to go all the way around me. Now you can actually change the speed to whatever you need to get good footage, and it's going to come around the back of me. You can see on the camera there. Okay, I know we are pretty far away, and I hope you can actually still hear me, but there you go. That's how that orbit function works. I'm actually going to stop that for now. I'm going to exit orbit, and I'm going to switch over. Hold on, let's quickly go back to the FPV mode. Now what I'm going to do is bring it a little closer. Let's bring it overhead. Because here's the next little nice thing, is the focus mode. Now, right, now from our menu, we select again FPV, and then you select focus. Now, you have to click somewhere on your screen to select your focus point. So it doesn't necessarily have to be where you are or where the camera is currently pointed. It can be anywhere, but in my case, I am going to click somewhere, yeah. Now, that's a little too off to the side, and that marker can be changed. Let me see if I can get a little closer. Those are the settings. If you click on it, if you click on the marker itself, you can select your subject height. Now, I've got it set to 1 meter, but I'm actually a little taller, but it doesn't matter. It's more towards about the center of me. And the joystick reference, you can change in which direction you want it to go. Okay, the battery is down to 30%, but it's not a bother for me at this stage. Let me just get... I'm going to walk off to the side, just so I can place a marker, which is a little closer to the camera. Right, now I've placed the marker. Now, what happens now is, when I move and I fly, it actually will keep the focus in this direction. And that's pretty cool. So yeah, there you have it. Focus stays approximately where you have adjusted it. Now, in this case, it is closer to here. This is the focus point that I've selected, not quite there. So if you now fly back and you pick up height and you change the location, you can actually change it quite a bit, and the focus mode is going to keep focus here. So that's actually pretty cool. Let me drop a little height.
Warning, aircraft battery at 24%.
And there we go. Okay, we've got the battery at 24%, so yeah, let's land it. I'm going to take it out of focus mode, FPV mode, and let's just land it. Put in a new battery and we can play with the other functions. The next thing I want to test and show you guys if this works is the object tracking, which is just called track here, but it's the object tracking. Now let's give that a shot, and as I believe it needs to already be in the air before you actually enable this, so we don't want to mess this up in any other way. So I'm just going to get it into the air first. Right, and nicely again, recording starts. I'm going to take it out a little bit. Now, I want to track it as it runs from here to there. So what we need to do is I'm going to bring it in around here. And we are going to raise the height just that little bit. Just so that I'm in the image, I'm going to lower the camera. To enable the tracking, we select it in the top left and we select track. Now, you've got your settings here at the bottom, which select your speed limiter, your rotation, that you can actually rotate around the object. But yeah, those are the settings you guys can play with later. Now, to enable this, you actually use the 2-finger. And from your object, I'm going to stand here in the middle. You select it and you swipe outwards. That makes a big circle or square around your object. So you take it, you place it in the middle of the screen and you drag it to the outside. And that is how you select your object. I've now selected me. When it's green, it says, right, you are the object. And now I am going to move to this side. And it tracks me. Okay, now, that is basically just the camera tracking me. So let me walk back to my point, and the camera is going to twist back to me. And now you can do the object tracking with follow, which is that button. So Let's see if that works. All right. So yes. Now, if you wanted to follow, the height actually needs to be a little more. So I'm going to raise the height. I'm going to point it down slightly. Let's see if that is enough height. Do you wish to start to follow? You say yes, you understand the risks, etc. And now you can actually walk. Now, as I walk down, you'll see it come overhead. I'm actually not touching anything. The Phantom, using the Litchi application, is following me. Oh, and it's actually managed to overshoot me slightly. Let's see if it picks me up. I'm not going to change anything. It's a little on the low side, I think. We do have a bit of wind. Okay, I've got a yellow square, so it sees me. Let me pull it up a little bit. Okay, so it's reacquired me. It's yellow, I don't know why, but there we go. Let's reacquire that. And there we go. Now there you go. It'll move backwards as well. Now bear in mind that when you are moving backwards, if any objects are behind you, it may crash into them. So bear that in mind. All right. It's not highly accurate, so guys, be very, very careful with this. Personally, I doubt I will ever use this. But yeah, there you go. It is an option. Switch it back to FPV mode. Bring it back. Okay. So that's the follow mode. Now, it's software, it is tricky, so bear in mind and be very careful when you do use that. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the panoramic mode. Now, this is more for photography. So let's see our battery. We've got 48% battery. Let's see if that is enough to actually do a photo session. So first thing you do is you get it up to the height that you need, center it on your image area, and then we select Pano. Now Pano, you need to stop recording first.
Stopped.
You switch it over to photo mode and we select Pano. Now here on the bottom left you select the settings and you can actually change how many rows you want. I like 3 rows, and your number of photos per row, your quality is going to be affected by this. Now my horizon is not 100% perfect, but that's good enough. Now I'm going to start it at, it's going to do 38 photos, making sure there's enough vertical space. Now we've got a bit of wind, so this might not be a perfect panoramic image, but that's how you do it. Start, and you can actually put down this control of the transmitter because now it's in panoramic mode. And with the panoramic mode, all it's going to do, it's going to center on the point and it's going to rotate around itself and do those number of photos to complete a full image. So you can stitch them together using your favorite software. I use Adobe Photoshop Elements to stitch all the photos together, but there are so many other software applications out there. Now it sticks up there. It tries to stay at one point to do this whole process. And in my case, we have 48% battery. I'm assuming that is going to be enough, but you always have to consider the amount of battery power that you have left when you do these kind of things. But anyway, let's see what that panoramic image is like when it has completed. All right, so the panoramic imaging thing has now completed, and yeah, it is pretty cool. You can now change that into a 360-degree image and all kinds of things that you can toy around with. And I'll try and show you what I got on screen now, but it's a little tricky trying to show on YouTube how this will look. So if you see it, you're lucky. Now, impressions of the Litchi application. It's very simple to operate. So your basics that you want to do are there. with a lot more added onto it. So I really think that the DJI guys can learn a thing or two from the developers of the Litchi application. And I cannot say that I've found any cons yet. The application is very stable. It hasn't crashed in the whole time that I've used it. And I'm quite happy with it. If you guys have any comments, suggestions, things you'd like to see, and videos you'd like to see me make in future with the Litchi application or other stuff using the Phantom 4 or any other quadcopter stuff, please let me know, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this.